Good morning, good morning. Oh, this? We've had a very exciting last 12 hours that you get to hear all about because today's morning show is brought to you by Drama and sponsored by the ER with little hints and a little sprinkling of,
you didn't turn
text
your phone
message.
off.
I can't because I'm expecting a very important call that I can't miss.
Okay. All right.
I can't miss. So at some point I might have to take a call, and I'm sorry. I usually silence my phone, but it's a very important call.
Well, I have. Speaking of important, I have this urgent post-it note.
Ooh. So for those,
We'll get to this.
We'll get to this. Our chit chat I think our chit chat is just going to lay out to everybody what will be happening in the show during our normal slots.
It's chock-full, and we might want to discuss what liquid this is in our cup because once again, it's not tea.
It's orange juice because vitamin C and health. We left you yesterday with plans to rescue a little kitten, a little juvenile cat we had seen.
Those were the innocent days,
The
weren't
days
they?
of naivete.
Those were we call those the salad days before the thunderstorm of reality crashed upon our little cabin.
What is that? What should we refer to it as? A cage? But that sounds so stark.
It's a trap. Well, I went and got it. You'll see. I showed it yesterday. I have a trap.
But it's a humane trap from the Humane Society-ish.
Well, you use
adjacent. I mean, it's an animal shelter.
You use it to rescue an animal. So obviously it keeps the animal alive and safe so that you can take the animal, the feral, wild, ungrateful animal to a safe haven.
And can I just say, Al and I, we had our hearts in our throats. There was a standoff when we were watching on the ring.
Yeah, because I would be watching into the forest thinking, I've got to make sure these coyotes do not touch this cat. What is happening here?
Sorry. I normally, again, apologies. I normally have my phone on silent. I'm expecting a very important phone call, so I can't have it on silent because I can't miss this call.
Wow.
Sorry.
Can't or won't. No, I'm just kidding. Someone said that to me once when I first moved to LA. I was doing an audition. I was like, oh no, I don't do nudity in an alley with strangers. And they're like,
are you kidding?
No, but it was now looking back one of those, I was, 21, and it was like one of those very shady acting classes, and the guy was like, okay, for your first scene it's this, and it was like a very from Basic Instinct or like whatever it was, and I was like, oh, that's not what I'm pursuing. I want to do comedy. That's not my brand. So I said, I can't do this. He's like, can't or won't. I was like, I would like my money back, please.
Oh, the stories we could tell.
Oh, that's not one of them. We'll cut right there and remove that.
No. So, all right. So we'll leave it with, we were watching the ring very carefully. We honestly thought we were going to watch a cat get killed on camera because there were near misses.
I was up until almost 2 a.m. just trying to monitor the situation, but
I wasn't.
No, you weren't.
I was sleeping like a baby next door, but it was very upsetting up until the point where I fell asleep like a baby. So then I woke up this morning bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Allison, I didn't know you'd been up till 2 a.m. That explains why I was the first one up to check the trap. And I looked through the window and I didn't see it right away because I could see one side of the thing, and then I was doing this to see the other side, and there he was just staring at me. And so I didn't even open the door and go running to it. I ran to Allison first because this is her little pet project, pun intended.
Listen, if you had opened that door and tended to it, you'd be on a gurney right now. So be grateful that you left that to me.
So that's our chit chat. And today you're going to hear all the details and more because we have coming up the word of the day brought to you by Allison. And then our wildlife watch will be, that's the video.
That's the blow by blow.
All right. Without further ado, Alexa, what is the weather today?
The current weather is 70 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and sun. Today's forecast calls for more of the same, with a high of 72 degrees and a low of 42 degrees.
It's warm. It's not sweater weather.
No, it is not. No, it is not.
It is very...
I came out and saw Alice was wearing baby blue. I didn't have any baby blue that I wanted to wear, and I thought, well, pink is a compliment.
Yes, and you thought...
This is a wool sweater, P.S.
I was going to say, Sin's going to be toasty today, but...
I am.
All for the look.
Toast. Sorry, cinnamon toast. So time for our word of the day.
Well, Sin, I looked up, I did look up cat slang because I thought, let's keep on theme. and all sorts of things come up, but the main one is cool cat, and that just wasn't fun. So then I just looked up, well, what is the most popular slang? And did you know in 2021 there is a slang word that won? It won as the best informal word, aka slang word, of the year in 2021.
2021.
Chuggy.
Chuggy.
Have you heard chuggy?
No.
Cheugy. Here's the thing. Cheugy. So your first thought is, that's chuggy. Where did that come from? Which is what I Googled next. And I have a little story for where it came from. But first, let me tell you what it means. Because even the New York Times wrote an article about chuggy. Apparently, I'm thinking, why do we not know that word other than being in a remote cabin in the forest and only talking to coyotes and birds? And what occurred to me was, I think people who watch all of the Real Housewives of this, and Real
yeah, we don't
I
watch
bet
that.
I bet those people use the word chuggy all the time, but I don't.
Is it chuggy or chuggy?
It's chuggy.
Are you sure?
I looked it up on
Okay.
YouTube as well, and if I'm
I
saying
trust
it wrong,
your research. I trust
you
your
must
research.
be chuggy. Chuggy is someone who's not quite on trend, aka uncool, to like a cringe, like, oh, that's chuggy.
Oh no.
I'm gonna guess. Well, I'll tell you the story of how it came about. A high schooler. So you know high school. You think high schooler, don't you think of love and acceptance? A high schooler wanted in Beverly Hills wanted a word that meant uncool, not quite trendy, and the word didn't exist, so she invented it.
Oh, like Shakespeare.
And
invented
they
word.
actually have the name of the person who invented it, and they have like,
Wow.
she's a Beverly Hills High School student. She is a software designer or something now, living like she's in her mid-20s. This was in 2013 she invented the word.
Oh, okay, but it didn't trend until 2021. It took some time.
Well, she said all of her sorority sisters knew about it, and then all of her college knew about it. First, her high school knew about it, and she said it spread like wildfire.
Ooh.
And
Sounds
so
like a
Beverly Hills
character.
sounds like, doesn't that sound, Beverly Hills High, the hub of language. I came up with a word. I want to drop it into the Beverly Hills High student brains. Let's see if you can spread this one. It's called Shiggy. And Shiggy is defined as people who judge others or put them down. So I'm going to say that's so Shiggy to say chuggy. But chuggy, I'm going to use chuggy as frequently as possible until it becomes uncool, because nothing makes something less cool than having an adult person use it. And I define adult as anyone over the age of 26 whose frontal lobe is fully developed. If I sound a little bit,
Allison's had
I
4
was
shots.
going to say, I was in the ER for 2 hours, and I might be a little bit
I'm not going
edgy.
to call Allison out on any of this because she's on 4 shots and she's been through a day.
But anyway,
And I'm scared for my life.
I am funneling my anger towards the animal shelter, towards whoever invented the word chuggy, because that's so chuggy to even say chuggy. How chuggy is chuggy?
So what was her story about it?
She wanted a word that meant someone who's not quite trendy, and that word didn't exist.
Was there a person
I
in
promise
the class
you, there's
named
someone.
Chug? Yeah.
I was gonna say there's someone named Chug, and she's like, that's very chuggy.
Their last name.
So don't.
It was like
yes.
Melissa Chug or whatever.
Yeah,
It's like,
I was
you're
like,
being so chuggy.
I was like, exactly. I was like, do not feed me this bull that this is. It's just a word that came from a high school student was like, I'm gonna spell that word CHEUGY. No,
But it's
that was
such an
someone's
ugly
name.
word.
Uh,
Like it's such an uncool word.
it's very chuggy. Chuggy is
Oh, it's
chuggy.
just it's almost nails on a chalkboard. It's so silly. It's such a silly word.
Well, Sin, I don't want to be shiggy, so we won't talk about.
No. Wait, shiggy means when you judge
Shiggy's
others.
my new word.
So we
Shiggy's-
won't be shiggy.
We won't be shiggy,
about the chuggy.
but chuggy is chuggy. But that's only if you're not shiggy, and we don't want to.
We embrace not being shiggy. I do like the word shiggy. Shiggy is better than chuggy by far.
I would. Can we spread that?
Let's spread shiggy.
Shiggy is when
Don't be shiggy. Don't judge others.
drop a shiggy in the comments, would you?
Shiggy. SHIGGY?
Yeah,
I see it from your
shiggy.
post-it.
Yeah, well,
Shiggy.
I combined a few words, and that's how I got shiggy.
All right, so we had to pause for a laughing break. Wildlife watch, guys. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Wildlife watch.
Oh, wildlife watch.
All right, in the center of the screen, lower bottom of the screen, you'll see the cage very, very faintly. And to the right of that is the cat. So we're watching the cat thinking, oh, he's getting closer and closer. Sped this part, sped this up a little bit, but you get the gist. He was taking sweet, sweet time, and he seemed to be slightly aware of something in the distance, and then he runs away. We were so scared at this point. And then look, middle left for glowing eyes. Middle left, you're going to see some glowing eyes. Yeah. That is the coyote in hot pursuit.
Kind of center, more center than left, but yes.
And then this was a little bit later, the coyote coming back and interested in the little cage there, but retracing the cat steps. And then Where the coyote's retreating is where the coyote spent a great deal of the evening. You'll see his little glowing eye.
This was the most harrowing moment because the coyote actually hid in that
And this
grass.
is that. There, Allison's got it.
All
All right, we are back for current events. Current events. Whoa, there it is. Current events are Allison's trip to the ER. Allison, tell us how you got there.
So picture we have this adorable sweet kitten inside a trap, and I brought it into the bathroom because it's the only room basically that doesn't have animals. It's also a little bit more waterproof in the bathroom in case there are any accidents because it is an unknown animal. And I set up a bowl of wet cat food. I set up a bowl of water. I took one of my cat's cat beds, and I was like, this will be our donation because
a little cat. It's like a very
like
sweet little, yes.
It's like an igloo. I also set up a little spot for me because I wanted to do what I did with my own cats when I was socializing them. I thought I'll sit in the room, be a calming presence, and the cat can explore. And then we can figure things out from there. Because I didn't want to necessarily immediately take it to the shelter. If it felt like it was a cat that could be rehabbed, I thought I could rehome the cat.
Rehome it, not have it be yours, but find a home for it.
Yes. So I went into the bathroom and I started to sit down. I opened up the trap, and the cat went exploring, and I was like, oh, let me get this trap out of here. We don't need to have a trap in the bathroom to remind this cat of its trauma. And I left, and I was putting the trap away, and something exploded in the bathroom. It sounded like an earthquake. It was like things crashing, things falling.
The dogs all hid. It was cataclysmic. The sound was earth-shattering.
It sounds like someone had a bowling ball on the end of a string and was just around a crystal shop. It sounded very alarming.
Sound like broken glass. It sounded like bottles of priceless perfumes and hair care products.
So I went in there, and you would think just my presence might change the situation. It was like a little furry grenade. There was a cat bouncing off the wall. So the cat was in distress. So I was like, it was very upsetting to witness because I witnessed it. Like it was a cat out of control.
Up?
No. Well, you know what? It might, because it's a kitten, maybe it was, and it just looked normal size.
It looks, sometimes you see on Instagram or YouTube those videos of like one cat, there was this.
Yes.
There was like a room full of cats or something, and one fell over, and they all just started like ping-ponging.
It was like a ping pong cat. It was out of control of itself, and it was like every surface in the bathroom that I didn't know existed. I felt like there were moments where it was hanging from the ceiling. It was like everywhere, everywhere at once. This
is not from broken glass or.
Oh, so after the ricocheting, I was just like, like as it was happening, and then she hid behind the commode. Is that the proper way to say toilet if you don't want to say toilet? and just was like, and my heart.
It was shaking?
It just looked very like
tremulous.
It had one paw lifted up, and it might be because it was bouncing. So it was like, and I was like, yeah. So I was like, okay, now we're gonna take a breath.
I heard, from my perspective, after hearing all of that like craziness, I heard Allison saying very, very calmly, to your credit, like repeatedly and very calmly, "You're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay." And I thought that
I was talking to myself. It was probably after the injury. I thought, here's where I can be calming and also a fool at the same time. I reached my hand and I thought if I could just pick up the kitty the way a mother cat does by the scruff of its little neck. It's a kitten. So
it really is a kitten.
You'll see the pictures.
It's very tiny, very tiny.
So easy to pick up, whereas I wouldn't try to do that obviously with a full-grown cat. So I was going to pick it up from the scruff of its little neck, cradle it in my arms, and name it. I got as far as putting my hand on the back of its neck. I guess you don't do that when a cat is.
Well, you said you accidentally grabbed a little on its back more than its neck, and that.
Well, I grabbed fur that I thought was the neck, but I said maybe it was lower down because I feel like it was able to twist its head around and remove part of my hand with its teeth.
Allison had deep puncture wounds. So not like superficial scratch wounds, like a snake, but farther apart, like deep puncture wounds. And Allison came out very calmly and was like, "The cat just bit me." And then
what upset me the most is when I looked down and forget the blood in the puncture wound. I didn't like that you could see a ring of saliva because obviously it was so upset. I think it was a little bit juicy, and that was the first thought I had of like, oh, could this cat have rabies because it's acting?
Well, and just infection.
Yeah,
rabies would be the worst case, but just just generally infection.
Well,
so you knew right away you had to go to the emergency.
I went to the ER, and yes, they started me on the...
But you're making it sound like you did right away. Allison actually stayed with the cat for, I want to say, 30 more minutes, making sure the cat was calm.
Or 20 if the nurses are watching. They asked me how long. I said about 20 minutes. But, so they gave me antibiotics for 7 days because I guess...
So I literally dropped Allison off at the ER, which is very, very close to us and very sweet, a very sweet little ER.
It's like the size of this living room, and it's 2 doctors and tons of nurses and you and one other patient, basically.
Yeah, it's because we've got such a small population in our mountain community. And then I literally then hightailed it, and I want you to continue the ER. No. I'm just saying, I hightailed it to the grocery store to get every cleanser, glove, mop, sponges. I literally went to town getting just cleansers because there's a lot of broken bottles in the bathroom right now. All right, so tell me. So
they put me on the antibiotic for the doctor said there was something called cat scratch syndrome or something, and he said he was very concerned about making sure I had he said whether it's a domesticated cat, a feral cat, whatever kind of cat, anytime an animal bites you, you don't want to have, there's so much in their saliva.
Ooh.
So he was very worried about that. In fact, as I was leaving, that was what he was like, you're going to go get your antibiotics. Go get your antibiotics. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting my antibiotics. So shout out to the doctor for his care.
Well, and yes. And you were texting me about all this right as I was like rehydrating I was getting him more water, getting him or her more food.
So I was like, can you get rabies?
And I was like, because Allison was about to get rabies shots. I didn't want to, spoiler alert, you're about to get rabies shots. And I said, can you get rabies from touching the saliva on the water bowl? Because I was changing.
All right. So then we had the rabies conversation. The doctor said, it's really peace of mind because he said there is once you have rabies, there's no cure, right? So you don't want to gamble.
It's deadly.
So it's for peace of mind. And I said, I'm all about peace of mind, and shots do not bother me at all. So they said, really, try this. Because then they came in, and the first rabies shot was in my arm, and it was the vaccine that I'm going to be getting for like the next, I have to go in 3 days, then 7 days, then 13, I have to go in a few more times.
Several more times.
And it's always going to be that one. And when at first, I did my thing where I looked the other way. I was like, I'm not looking, but I'm good with shots, so don't worry. And I felt like the initial shot. And then it felt like someone was trying to take a pipe and shove it through my arm. Ooh. It was so painful that I doubled, it was so painful.
But you said you had a total of 4 shots.
So then the doctor came in and did shots all around my hand. My hand is... If you saw our story, it ballooned up because it's full of so much fluid. And he said, this is not the vaccine. This is actually like the globules where it's active because if there's anything in that bite, we can't wait for the vaccine to take effect. Like we want, so it's like the active. So my hand is like, whoa.
The vaccine, how long does it protect you from rabies then?
That's a good question. I will ask on my next shot. And then she gave me one more here and that one. So it was one here, one here. But the one here, I was like, I have to tell you, I've never been nervous about shots, but I'm a little bit anxious because another one doubled me over. And she said, I'd forgotten it was her. I was like, the other one she gave me. It's like the same.
No.
And she was like, she's like, I don't know. She's like, I hope I didn't hit bone. I think she was joking. And she said, well, let's try this one. And it didn't hurt. It was like a normal shot. I was like, what? Did you hit bone? What did happen with that other one?
That? And here's my question.
This is bothering me. Let me just quickly.
Turn on the light. Here's my question.
Let me just light this.
Is it 100% effective?
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to get rabies now.
The doctor and the nurses kept joking. They're like, after this, you can go out and handle all sorts of wild animals. And I said, I'll see if the zoo is hiring. And then I was like, by the way, who wants a cat?
Did you really?
No. I wish I had.
Okay. So that's, now it's time for story time.
Well, let's spare our audience who's probably like...
Well, okay, but I want to hear the little mini story is the story that I haven't heard, which is the story of how when you took the cat...
I will tell you that story. Okay, I will end with the story. Our show and tell will be the story of what happened at the animal shelter because it was actually very I
have no idea. I have 2 guesses.
I bring the kitty. They transfer the kitty. And it's a long process transferring the kitty because I have her in that special igloo. And
but you told them they could have
I did. I donated it, but he did not want to come out of there. So it was.
They put on the giant.
Yeah, they put on the giant gloves, and they were like it was a whole thing. And so I was making chit chat, and I was talking about, I was like, oh, when she bit me, and the room changed. What were your two guesses? Did we even cover
Oh,
your...
my two guesses were that they were going to say, "Oh, we know this cat. We just that cat was just rehomed," and then it was like, so that was my first guess, just because you seem so. And the second guess was that the lady, because the last time you talked to her, she has adopted two of the dogs that were there. That she was saying right away that she would take the cat. So that was my two guesses.
That's very optimistic. That's very sweet. She said because the cat had bitten me, it cannot be adopted by anyone anymore.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And I said, "You're not going to euthanize it, are you?" Because in my mind, I'm like, I will take this cat back now. And she said, "No, we will quarantine it for 10 days or something. They have to see if it has rabies." And she said, and then it can only go to a C2QB3, like some code, which means someone who is a certified rescuer, aka a rescue organization, where it cannot be adopted out to people. And I thought,
who's adopted out to?
So I said, but it's my fault. I said, I said my own cats would do that. Like I was the one that was out of line. I reached for a cat that was in distress. It should have bitten me. I would be more concerned if it didn't. And I said, my own cats who love me would do that if I tried to grab at them when they were in hiding. So she's like, yeah. But no, it can only go to a rescuer now. And I was thinking, this is insane because this is a kitten and it has so much time to change its behaviors. I already have, I think I have a few places in mind I'm going to write to. Knuckle Bump Farms, you're going to be hearing from us because I will drive to Florida and bring this kitty to you, because I was also thinking, I've been to every state except for Florida and North Dakota. This might be our road trip to Florida. I will bring, because they said...
they said they won't give it back to you again.
So no, this is what they said. They said there's a rescue barn that's takes in rescue cats, and she's like, it's not a life, but it's a life. And I said, well, I guess it's better than dodging coyotes. And I said, you know what, can I put my name on some sort of emergency list that if you get to the point where the barn doesn't take this cat, I will take the cat, because I don't want it euthanized, because I was trying to rescue the cat.
That's the whole point of the being.
That's the whole point. And she said, oh no, you can't. You're part of the public. You can no longer rescue this cat. The cat that I have, that I'm still partially holding on to, by the way, that I've just brought in.
Wow.
Sin, I was furious. I thought, do you understand how life works? Do you understand that, like, I'm still holding, I got the cat. I felt like taking it under my arm and racing out the door with it.
Why didn't you?
Because I didn't have the cat. I use it as hyperbole. They had the cat at this point, but I still metaphorically had the cat. I'd had the cat.
That's so upsetting.
Yeah, it's very upsetting.
Oh, that's so upsetting.
It's very upsetting, Sin. It's very
On
upsetting.
that note, have a good rest of your day.
I'm thinking of you, loving.
Wait, that's really upsetting. What are we going to do about that? That's not acceptable.
Knuckle Bump Farms, or if someone out there is a CP3PO or whatever the code was for someone who is a certified rescuer,
Oh, no.
can you please, this is a sweet kitten who has its whole life
It's
ahead.
a little kitten. And we've just spent the entire episode building off of your monster. But it's a little kitten that can easily be.
But actually, and I told this after I said that bite, for the circumstances it was in, it was such a tame bite. It was such a mellow cat. It was mellow in the cage. It was mellow in the car. It was so mellow.
Oh, I wish you'd not told them that you'd gotten bit. If you hadn't said anything, they wouldn't have.
Cinnamon has this habit of blaming me for everything.
No, I'm just saying, I wish you hadn't told them. That's just a reality.
I knew you were going to blame me, so this is not
I'm
about
not blaming you. You didn't know that at the time. I just
Great.
wish you hadn't told them that you...
Why don't you wish that they had different policies? I was being honest.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And they gave me like all this paperwork that I had, is going to be filed with the state that I've been bitten by a feral animal. What's that about?
Did you already tell them you'd gotten your rabies shots at the ER that morning?
I explained the whole reason I was telling the story. I was like, are you going to check this cat for rabies? Because then they can stop doing the shots. And they're like, we'd have to kill the animal. I was like, I don't want that. They're like, great, no one can rescue it ever again. How is that different? How is that different?
Wait, so no one can rescue this cat. So
No
what's
one.
going to happen to it?
A certified rescuer can rescue it to live on like a barn or a farm or a barn. They kept mentioning a barn.
Can you become a certified rescuer in 7 days?
No,
So you can take it to a real, like, are they going to do the legwork?
If someone like Knuckle Bump Farms were to take in this cat, then we would just transport it to them and it could live on their farm. There's no coyotes.
They said they're not going to give it back to you. So how would you?
No, they wouldn't give it to me. They would give it to Knuckle Bump, who would say, by the way, our friend Allison is going to come pick up the cat in our name.
Ooh, this story took such a turn.
Did you expect that? Did you expect that?
It's such. I almost wish you told me, and I'm not blaming you for anything, but I wish you told me before we got on camera.
Cinnamon,
because we could have ended
it's
on a
not.
high note.
I should have told you before. You should have listened earlier.
That's a downer. Well, you guys have a good rest of your day.
Remember to do unto
Enjoy the
others.
life. So guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. Try to forget you ever saw this episode. Join us tomorrow where we will be telling you about our day at the apple orchard. Actually, join us on Monday. We're about to do our game day. Join us for our game day tomorrow.
Friday fun day. You know we're
Friday
going to be
fun
doing
day.
games. I'm in charge of the games, and there, let me tell you, Cinnamon's in for a surprise, but you're in for a surprise.
Is it
Interactive.
going to be a good surprise or a bad surprise?
Oh, I wish I knew. I'll figure it out after this.
Oh, shout out. We have a shout out
Right.
today.
Oh, I have
We have a shout out.
I have a shout out as well.
Okay.
You go first.
Well, the dogs are shouting out right now. It's going to be hard to be heard over them. But my
Wait,
shout out.
wait. Here we go. All right.
Shout out. We got a lovely message from a childhood friend, Suzanne. Thank you for the feedback and the kind words.
And also I want to shout out Tabitha, a former student who is probably one of the funniest former students I've ever had.
She's a comedian. We've seen her performances.
Yeah, she's hysterical. And she gave us a compliment about our
Did
show.
she?
Yes, she did.
What
So
did
I
she
thought
say?
if Tabitha thinks it's cool, then it must be
Aw.
it must not be chuggy.
It must not be chuggy.
Thank you, Tabitha.
Love bug thinking about you. See you soon, Presh.
Remember, do unto others
As you would have them do unto you. What are you throwing?
I don't know. The episode.